Joining us now, perfect guy to have this conversation with, Peter Schiff. Peter owns Euro Pacific Capital. He's, I think here's a good way to describe Peter. He is a practicing libertarian. and I think there's a difference in that nomenclature, by the way. Peter, let's start with what we just saw on CNBC that a lot of people are talking about. Is Chamath right? Should we let weak companies die?
Well, first of all, of course he's right. And, CNBC acts like they've never heard this before. If anybody listened to my podcast, I've been saying this stuff since day one. But the real beneficiaries of the bankruptcies are not the employees of the companies. I mean, they will benefit, although some of these companies in a restructured bankruptcy will end up shedding some of their workers, which is a good thing because many of these companies have too many workers. And in order to survive, they need to be more competitive, especially if demand is down in their industries. But the big winners in bankruptcy are the customers. CNBC is making it out like if we don't bail out the airlines, that there's going to be no airlines. If we don't bail out the hotels, there'll be no hotels. That's nonsense. They don't blow up the hotels. They don't blow up the planes. What happens is in a bankruptcy, new owners come in, all the debt is wiped out, and now you have an efficient management team with an unlevered company that can actually lower prices. So consumers end up with a better deal once the companies are restructured. But by keeping them afloat with more debt, the companies are never viable, and they have to keep overcharging customers based on a government subsidy. And once the government steps in and prevents them from restructuring, they're going to be in constant need of additional government money.
So what you're saying is if we allow the process to just happen almost a la law natural, right? The way things normally happen in nature, somebody doesn't do a good job, somebody else comes along and does it better, and in the end, everybody wins. And that is what should happen. Yeah. But for the last 2 decades, we have not allowed that to happen, almost as if these CEOs or these board guys or these hedge fund guys, they're the only ones in the world who have the answers, and how dare us think about replacing them. That's your argument.
Yeah, look, if we had let more businesses fail in 2008, then far fewer businesses would be failing now. We wouldn't have created the moral hazard. Businesses would have known that there's no government to bail them out, so they would have acted more responsibly. And had the Federal Reserve not kept interest rates so low, companies wouldn't have done all these buybacks. They wouldn't be all levered up. They would be able to withstand this temporary emergency, but so would their employees. Don't let the workers off the hook. You've got all these people who have lost their jobs who have no savings. They can't make it without a paycheck because they have a big mortgage, they have credit card debt, they have auto loans, they have student loans. Why is that? Why don't Americans have any savings either? That's part of the problem. And nobody should be bailed out. No company should be bailed out. No individual should be bailed out. Everybody needs to deal with the consequences of their own actions.
Now, in the case of banks, for example, who are having to do forbearance, allowing people not to pay their mortgages, that is essentially being trickled down to the rest of the population who are in this very difficult situation. Would you agree some kind of remuneration is due to those who are directly helping people like you and me?
No, nobody is due anything. I have no problem with lenders and borrowers and landlords and tenants getting together and working out deals on their own. But nobody should be getting a check from the government because the government doesn't have any money. All the government is doing is printing money, and they're destroying the value of everybody's savings. Look, we're going to have massive inflation in this country. The government is doing far more damage with the bailouts and the stimulus. None of this money is free. If you're wondering who is going to pick up the tab, if you have money in the bank, if you have bonds, if you have a retirement account, if you have savings, if you have cash value in an insurance policy, if you have an annuity, if you have a pension, you're going to get wiped out because you're going to pick up the tab because your purchasing power is going to be destroyed by all the money the Fed is creating.
The 3 most important words, I think it's 3 that Peter just said a while ago. I don't know if you caught that. The government does not have any money. Okay, it's more than 3. But those are important words. Think about that. It's worth the story in and of itself. Peter, as usual, it's always a pleasure. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for expressing a point of view that sometimes we don't get a chance to hear anywhere else.